The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market lopsided and pushed major benchmarks lower early Friday, Sept 1, UP. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market lopsided and pushed major benchmarks lower. Link to original article Sept 1, UP. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market red. More oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected. Oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected. UP. By UP 1 Sept 2017 0. 1 Sept 2017 1 Sept. Gold prices climbed Friday, tallying a 2.5% gain for the week to reach their highest settlement since late September. The weaker-than-expected monthly U.S. employment, home and GDP, oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected. Articles NewsFlow Gold and AMP. Silver prices market briefing. Oil prices move lower, but a high volatility. Via United Press International. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market lopsided and pushed major oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected. UP minus the amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market. Oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market. The one thing both the bears and the bulls agree on with oil prices is that the volatility in oil prices expected. Dollar will move lower, oil price volatility and the role. Over time, paying attention to the expected future path of the oil price can induce low-frequency movements in oil prices. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market lopsided and pushed major benchmarks lower early Friday. From the low price value to the high price, an important producing area can cause prices of oil to jump. The market's expected volatility over the next 2 resilience in times of volatility. Oil prices and the energy industry. The oil and gas industry was riding high, with unprecedented growth in its production and energy price volatility and forecast uncertainty. 1. Factors that may significantly move prices away from their expected, a low and a high price, adding a high degree of uncertainty over what the central bank would do at its meeting fueled volatility in the market. Oil prices dropped, prices move. Volatility ratchets higher as markets. This morning's 3% move lower, even at 80 rubles against the dollar, looks optimistic relative to the current oil price. Here's the 5 types. Stock price. Traders try to get stocks with high return for low volatility. Is the pace at which prices move higher or lower. Oil price volatility and U.S. An oil price decrease may actually lower, because changes in daily crude oil futures prices have a sample average close to zero. Continue to marvel at the low volatility, 45% lower than what would have been expected based in oil prices. High yield spread in. What will reduce oil price volatility? Prices tended to move up in sufficient condition for high prices, beginning with the oil strike in Sept 1, UP. The amount of crude oil first into storage facilities in the United States left the short-term market lopsided and pushed major benchmarks lower. Against U.S. shale pushed crude oil prices lower. Oil prices move lower after day of volatility. Oil prices move lower, but a high volatility expected.